And good morning at the 9th Concordia Annual Summit, and we are sitting here today with Mr. Jackrich, who's the CEO of Belimo Oil. It's an honor to have you here today.
Thank you.
But we're here not to talk about the oil industry, we're here to talk about your philanthropy. First off, I really am intrigued to know, we've heard from you a few times while here at Concordia, and one of the things that you ended your speech with on Sunday evening that I loved is you want to make everybody in the world want to say, I am African. Can you talk a little bit about what inspires your interests and passions around philanthropy? What is it that inspires the issues that you care about?
Excellent. Thanks a lot, Concordia. It's an honor for me to be here. You know, when I was 10, my parents moved me to the village. And not quite a few moments after that, my late mom took ill, because life in the village was very tough in Africa, in the Niger Delta part of Nigeria. And then she took ill and she couldn't survive it because there was no medical facilities, there was no potable water, there was just nothing there. It was like a jungle, living in jungle. There was no access or connection to the city. So you go by boat, you know? And you travel like 12 hours before you get there by boat.
Yeah. And
after Mama passed on, life was very difficult. I was a village boy at the very young age of 10 and struggled so hard to make ends meet. You have to join the old grandpas down to the river in search of fish, and you know. And when I left the village, I said to myself that, listen, I'm going to work hard. And I remember what my late mother said to me, that if she dies, the children are going to suffer, because she had 9 kids, and about 7 were alive. Today we're only 3. 6 is passed on, you know, because of the hardship and the very difficult lifestyle and all that. And when I got to the city, I started working so hard, and I joined several companies. And at the age of 22, I said to myself, listen, right now you need to set your own company. So I set up my company at 23. And I started this contracting, you know, running around looking for businesses. And it was very difficult, a young boy at 23. But I was making sense. The first company that I did a major project for was a company called Wilbur. It was an American company operating in Nigeria. Wow. And the divisional manager was Mr. Windy Hughes. He was a very superb, excellent man. Then I think it was about 65, and I was 23. So he picked interest in me and said, wow, young kid. I said, yeah. And they gave me my first contract. But then I was using another company's name, and I said, listen, you are not in control of this business. Why don't you set up your own company? So I set up my company and started from there. And the desire to give back to the community was always there, because I recall how life was when I was in the village. But I said, contracting is not enough sustainable revenue to give back to society in the manner that I want to. And I said, listen, what is the most sustainable way? And I have to then pursue having an oil mining lease, having an asset. And miraculously, I was in Texas when I heard that Chevron, the U.S. company, another U.S. company, was divesting some of its assets. And then I said, wow, this is an opportunity. My foundation was a U.S. company, and another U.S. company is going to be the game changer. Yep. So in Nigeria, and then I bid for the asset and I won. And as soon as I won the asset, my number one vision was that I needed a sustainable opportunity to give back to society. And I returned home, and I found out that in the past 30 years, the community was still the same. And I had to provide water for the communities, because I found out that water was taking was creating a lot of economic loss in the community, because they have sicknesses, they have diseases, they're not able to go to school, and other stuff. So I provided water for the community. And as soon as I did that, it was all over the news and all that. So a lot of my friends in the northern part of the country said, listen, we're going through what your community is going through. And I launched my project to support the communities in the northern part of Nigeria to provide water. And ever since then, it's been so super strong. I then gave scholarship to a lot of young boys and girls that aspire, you know, greater height in terms of, you know, achieving their dream. So last year, 2018, we gave about 350 scholarships. And the previous year, we gave similar number. And this year, we've given additional over 300. So we have over 1,000 scholarship, award in our scheme. A lot of them are in Canada, UK, some in Cyprus, Malaysia, Philippines, Ghana, Nigeria, and we're also involved in training these youths. Because what I found out is that a lot of these young graduates, when they get out of school, they're not employable. So we also set up another training unit. As a matter of fact, I knocked out my finance department head and told them, listen, you will handle what I call special stakeholder strategic economic development. So right now we're training a lot of locals, and we're giving a lot of grants, and we're doing a lot. We're also encouraging young ones to pursue their dream. So Jackrich is motivated by the life that he lived as a young boy growing up. And today, being able to do a lot for the community and Nigerian youth is something that we consider a great privilege.
So I have to ask, in listening to some of the things you said, first off, it's incredible, your story. It's incredible where you've come from to where you are today. But had all that not happened, all this success and all this business success that you've had that have enabled you to become this philanthropist, do you think that you still would have been philanthropic? I mean, is that something that runs in the bloodstream, or is it something that sort of came to you more later in life?
Well, basically, my DNA is giving back to the community. I was born on the 28th of January 1975. And I also had to do research about, this date. And I found out, because I wanted to be sure that, listen, what you're doing, does it resonate out of that, what I call connection with my foundation? Yeah. Or is just window dressing? Yeah. I did the research, and I found out that what I'm doing is just in my DNA. And with or without my current investment opportunity, I still give back, because I believe in sacrificial life. You wouldn't believe it that I still live in the same apartment that I live in the past 10 years. Really? Yeah, I live in a rented apartment. I mean, I could have bought property worth any amount of money, but I said, why sitting on an investment that runs into millions of dollars when you can rent and pay a little and then give back to society? Yeah.
And one of the things, and this is important within the philanthropic space, and a conversation that I think is being driven today. Later today, Mark Green, who's the administrator of USAID, is coming and speaking. The theme of his talk is Pathway to Self-Reliance. How do you ensure that your philanthropy is something that empowers and enables people, rather than something that puts a Band-Aid on the problem? How do you make sure that it's something that isn't constantly required, right? Because your objective is to empower people, and then hopefully they're up on their own 2 feet. How do you ensure that now that you're leading this philanthropic effort?
Excellent. So one of the reasons why I set up that strategic unit in my office is to train. Yeah. So right now we are collating names of women, and I'm pretty much interested in the women because of Africa. We are putting together a bunch of rural women that are doing nothing, and to get them trained. Yeah. So we're picking like 24 from each community in the country. Major communities are from the 774 LGA that we have. So we're picking 24 per LGA. So we're going to put together about over 1,000 women. Wow. And then get them trained. And as soon as we train, we'll provide a startup. So they can then create what I call community type market within the community, within the rural area. And that will also reduce, the rural community dwellers migrating to the urban, to the cities, where they put a lot of pressure in the city. So for us to sustain what I call strategic economic growth, you got to train the women. Yeah. And we also have a lot of smart youth that we're training, and we'll provide a startup park for them, so they are able to also get on their feet and then help others. Because we have to design a sustainable strategy where you're not just always giving, but you got to give to someone who can give to others, so which means they can grow. So employment is also very important. So we support you, and we say, listen, how many can you employ? Very important. And he said, I can employ 3. It's okay. Can you employ 5? I will make a top up. Yeah. And then we create that opportunity, so you have taken the spark, and then you can employ within the local area. We're also having those, I spoke to a few guys in Italy where they can train the local people on how to sew. our oil field will use a lot of coveralls, you know, safety materials. So they can make it, they can be trained to make this so we can buy from them and others can buy, you know, from them. So we are looking at a sustainable economic strategy where those who train can then have the opportunity to hire others.
Do you see a shift for the business community today where it's less, you have your corporation and then you have your corporate social responsibility or your philanthropic side of things, but instead the essences of a company's philanthropy is more injected into the actual business? I mean, some of the things that you've just alluded to, for instance, they have a social impact, but they're also good for your business. Do you think the two are mutually exclusive, or do you think you can do both at the same time?
Well, basically you can do both. I believe in creating shared value. Basically, a lot of the opportunity that we create, we get criticized. And they say, well, you are not a charity. You are a venture that is meant to make money for shareholders. Yeah. But we need to understand that we have a growing population of 3%. So in my country, we're almost 200 million. So in the next 30 years, that number will increase. So we're going to be over 400 million. So right now, with 200 million, we're struggling with employment. So if you do nothing today, you're going to deal with that disaster in the future. So we consider a social investment as a strategic economic enabler, not just for us, but for the country.
Got it.
So, and that's the reason why we need to make sure that mix is there. So we're not seen as those who are naive of the future, but those who are sensitive of the future.
Got it. What keeps you up at night? What would you say is the thing you wake up every morning and say, my biggest concern is what?
Work hard to help someone who is somewhere that need access. I work so hard. My wife told me the other day that, listen, we asked you, you're working so hard for Belema Oil, you're working so hard to make a lot of money. You're not even telling us that we're going to be part of this. You're talking about others. So why you work so hard? You're not sleeping just for others. And I said to her, I am born to help humanity. So I can provide a platform for you to make money. But I cannot deny myself of waking up to actually think that someone somewhere is praying every day for help. So what makes me happy, what makes me wake up in the morning and feel so strong is that someone somewhere is waiting for my help. And I got to wake up, I have to work hard to help someone somewhere to add value to society.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Jackrich, it's an honor to have you here. Welcome. Thank you so much for your words the other evening and for this conversation. Yeah. I think it will be the beginning of many.
Thank you. And also, what I would also say to cap what I've discussed with you here, Africa needs to realize that there is a time bomb waiting to explode, and that's our numbers. The youth employment, if you don't deal with it today, is going to catch up with you in the future. We're having a growing population. Right now we are 1.316 billion. And in the next 30 years, we're going to have an increase of 1.8 billion. So Africa was going to be about 2.5 billion, and 65% of that number are young ones. So if you don't provide the enabler today, you're going to be dealing with this in the future. And that's the reason why I believe strongly that Africa can trade within itself. The East and West Africa can design what I call strategic economic park, and then knock off all this bottleneck of travel within yourselves, and then you can have free visa to get a job. And then agriculture is key. Agriculture today, if we harness the potential in agriculture by introducing technology and introducing the infrastructure, and then have access to capital within the world but developed corridors, we can build a market that is about $1.6 trillion. That's 60% of our current need. So if we have a buying power of about $3.23 per person, you have $1.6 trillion market. And that can create a whole lot of jobs for the youths to get them busy, while garments and services and other sectors are also being developed. So I think it's important for African leaders and the policymakers to realize today that if you do nothing today, you're going to be forced in the next 30 years to deal with the social unrest in your country.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.